So, set of clarification had come in the last week itself. The government disallows setting off losses incurred in a particular digital asset against income from another version of a crypto holding. Minister of State for Finance Pankaj Chaudhary had also said this on 21st of March in the Parliament. Now, giving more details about this, he said tax breaks on infrastructure cost incurred while mining of crypto assets would not be treated as cost of acquisition. Now, this sounds very technical, but what he essentially means is, so usually when you start a business, you have a cost of acquisition, which can be deducted while you are claiming, your tax. But in this case, mining cannot be treated as cost of acquisition. You won't get any deductions here. Now, current legal status of cryptocurrency in India was also asked as a question in Lok Sabha, and the answer was that currently cryptocurrencies are unregulated in India, something that we already know, and we've been talking about this on this show as well. Now, several investors have some queries, or I was also going through some FAQs online as well, and I thought I'll also include in our show so that you have some more clarity. So in simple words, we have some questions, some FAQs that I'll be answering. So first is, if I made loss in Bitcoin, can I set it off with profit in Ethereum? Now, this is, of course, in direct link to the set-off thing that we just explained to you. So the answer is no. If you've made losses in Bitcoin, you can't set it off against profit that you've made in Ethereum. Question number 2. Can cost of mining be deducted? Absolutely no. A big no there. Third question. When is the tax regime rolling out? The crypto asset tax regime is rolling out in the financial year starting April 1st, that is a few days from now. Now, provisions on the 30% tax will be effective at the start of the fiscal year. Your crypto earnings will come under the ambit of new tax rules from 1st of April. But what about the TDS? Provisions related to the 1% TDS will come into effect from July 1st, 2022. So there's a lot of buzz around this new update that has come, which is about setting off your losses against another crypto asset of yours. So we'll break it open to discussion with our guest. We have with us Uday Walia, lawyer, partner, Touchstone Partners, Ashish Anand, founder and CEO, Brew Finance. A very warm welcome to both of you. Ashish, to you first. This latest announcement, does it come as a setback to you? What is your quick reaction?
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot. First, of course, this is not in line with the established principles of taxation. The Supreme Court has decided earlier that income includes loss. Here, actually, we are not talking about set-off against another set of income, or we are not talking about set-off for previous year's losses or something like that. We are talking about in the same asset class, what if I have income and what if I have losses? I believe this will be certainly challenged in the court and will not stand scrutiny in the court as well. Certainly a setback by the what legislation has provided for, but in my opinion, it will be challenged.
And I think it will be interesting to get an opinion from Mr. Walia here. So how does set-off really work with other financial tools, let's say stocks?
So, in general, the principle is that you can set off your losses against gain. So the basic principle is that you should be paying tax on the overall gain. You shouldn't have to pay taxes on each aspect of your income. So for instance, if in a Bitcoin you make a loss of 70 rupees and in Ethereum you've made a profit of 100, you should really be paying income tax on the 30 rupees, which is the difference which is basically the gain that you've made. But unfortunately, what they seem to be saying is that we're gonna tax you on the profit of 100. The loss that you've made of the 70 is your loss. It's for you to deal with. You can't then use that loss to set off against not just your profits or your gains from other crypto assets, but also against other stocks. Now, that's not the principle that's followed, and that's what Ashish is saying. Now, the trouble with challenges in court, etc., is that, look, it all depends ultimately on how the government and how clearly the government defines it. There remains the general overhang as to, are you going to regulate it? Are you not going to regulate it? The finance minister said clearly whether it's going to be banned or it's going to be regulated is a decision that's going to be taken later. We know, as we've seen in your clip previously, that the Reserve Bank of India is naturally against it. Not surprising. We were hoping for some sort of clarity on the regulation. That hasn't come through as yet.
Sure.
But I think essentially what they're saying is we're going to just tax all your gains.
Right. And great that you talk about clarity here, because, when this was announced during the budget session as well, the 30% tax, then the word transfer of cryptocurrency was used. And now a lot of experts also point out that, there's a bit of clarity needed on that front as well. What is transfer of cryptocurrency? Do you think, Mr. Walia, the question is for you, do you think government should come up with clarity on that as well?
I think transfer would be similar to what the definition is under the Income Tax Act. So any sort of dispossession or whether it's by way of a gift or sale would be covered. I don't think that is necessarily the problem. Potentially even, using it as security could potentially be treated as a transfer. So if you collateralize your asset, you create a mortgage or a charge on it.
Right.
But I think it's, those are, I think the sort of less relevant issues here. What's more important is, what is the asset? I mean, are you basically scaring off the market? Are you basically saying, look, it's all at your risk. There's going to be TDS, there's potentially GST. We don't know whether it's legal. You can't set off, as you had said earlier, you can't even include mining in the cost of acquisition. You're basically, you're not taking a very sort of friendly or a kindly approach to this particular asset.
Your topmost priority would be, clarification on the asset class bit of it, right?
I think, for me, the real clarity is that, we must, the laws need to be clear. So we need to know, and everything needs to be clear, because you can't tell an investor that, look, we're not even sure this is legal. It could be legal, it could be banned, but we're going to tax you, which would lead, the sort of ordinary assumption would be, well, if I'm going to be taxed on something, then it must be legal for me to buy it. But then the government is saying, well, we're not really sure it's going to be legal, it's not going to be, but we're still going to tax you. And we're going to treat every sort of aspect of your transactions as taxable. So, I think we just need, the real clarity has to be, is it legal? Are you going to tax it? Why? And if it's going to be an asset, treat it no differently from buying securities, other stocks or mutual funds.
Although that doesn't seem to be the case. Of course, it is going to get a special treatment is what we sense at the moment. But Ashish, to you now, I mean, what are the immediate things or clarity that you think you need as a part of the industry?
So major parts which we will see that happening there, where we need clarification. For example, government has included non-fungible tokens into the definition of VDA. Now there are non-fungible tokens which are purely digital tokens like digital arts and so on, which are very popular. But there are non-fungible tokens which are actually representative of certain real-world assets. For example, a house property tokenized, receivable tokenized, and so on. And in our opinion, that is a clarity which is needed over there, that whether they will be taxed as NFTs or whether they will be taxed as simple other asset classes. So that is one part which we believe should be important on that definition. The second part is which was alluded to by Mr. Walia about transfer. So one part is that a lot of derivatives products have come up on top of cryptocurrencies, right? We have decentralized finance, we have lending solutions, we have wealth solutions. Now, in number of these solutions, you have to transfer the asset for a moment till the time that asset is blocked and you get another token. Say, for example, if I lock my Bitcoin on one protocol, perhaps I will get S Bitcoin or A Bitcoin, and I will have to keep that. Again, when I repay my loan after 3 months, I have to get back my Bitcoin and get this SBTC. So the second part, which is important, that whether these sort of things will be covered into transfer or not, because that will also further define.
Yeah, that's what I was essentially was talking about, a little bit clarity on transfer. But Ashish, last question to you. I also see a lot of crypto investors saying this, that okay, we will be entering a new financial year. So do I do anything at the last moment before we step into a new financial year? What would you say to those?
So I would say that square off all your positions and open new positions in the new financial year.
And Mr. Walia, what would you say?
Sorry, I would just be cautious. I would just be cautious and say, can the government just produce the bill?
Okay.
And let's just get clarity on this asset class. And I think, as Pinaki Mishra, the BJD MP, had said, it's an asset whose time has come. by banning it, you're just going to drive it underground. You have to recognize that this is a very clever, innovative way of doing it. Whether it's hot air or not is different, but we should tax it.
Yeah, a few more seconds. Ashish, you were, I think, saying something, if you want to complete that point. So, what would you say to someone who wants to change the strategy as soon as they enter the new year, or maybe do something just before this year comes to an end?
So, because if you are holding any asset, I will suggest that square up those positions, create new positions in the new financial year. At least this financial year, you will not have to pay 30% taxation. You can try to get covered under other heads of taxation, which may be.
But keep hold of what they are holding at the moment.
No, first you square up the position and create new position in the new financial year. So, of course, if they have to keep holding, I mean, this will not impact the direction of the market. The government's decision in India will not impact whether the BTC or Ethereum will go up or down. So that has no impact.
Sure. Thank you so very much, both of you, gentlemen.